Hey, it's Ari. Welcome to a really unique episode of the Made in America podcast. So we're sitting here wrapping up 2020. I'm putting together, I guess, what we're going to call the Home Alone episode, where I reflect back on what's happened here in 2020. I think we can all agree it certainly hasn't been a normal year. And it's been a great year for me to be able to spend so much time with so many tremendous manufacturers around Connecticut, really focusing in on the stuff that we started this podcast to do. You know, it's been so important to me to help spread the word about what's going on in manufacturing. When we started this year, everybody was talking about workforce and finding talent as the number one problem. And certainly when the pandemic hit, a lot of that changed. But we've really been able to get through this year such a resilient group of people. I'm really so impressed. You know, I think it's so easy, especially maybe in Connecticut, but in general, to focus on the things that haven't gone right. You know, everyone started this year, we're calling it 2020, the year of perfect vision, which is super ironic given that I think no one saw this global pandemic coming, or certainly most of us didn't. But now that we've been through it and are at the other side, there's just so much, I think, to be happy and excited about. So I want to spend this episode kind of reflecting on 2020, how we've reacted to what's happened, how much great stuff we've done to get through it, and think about 2021 and what we have ahead. So I hope you're going to enjoy it, kind of a little bit of a conversation between you and I, just to think it through. So here we go. So let's talk about this year, 2020, and what manufacturers have seen this year, which no doubt is a lot. Manufacturers have suffered some of the same setbacks as other businesses have, with over half of manufacturers, as we all know, having to lay people off or furlough or reduce hours. But the really good news is we're super resilient as a group. So many manufacturers have fought back to help things come back in great and new ways. We're finding ways to invent and reinvest in our businesses to do things we maybe didn't do before. And I think that's one of the most powerful things we can find in a year like 2020. You know, a lot of times we talk about necessity being the mother of invention. But all too often when things are going good, the necessity to reinvent ourselves just doesn't exist. And we just keep going on and going on and going on. This year certainly wasn't a year of going on. You know, we've had to look and do different things. Many manufacturers took advantage of the PPP to help us get through and use that government support when oftentimes we haven't needed to do that. We've also looked at new and interesting ways to find new markets, whether that's in aerospace engineering firms like Horst building dreidels, or just going into new and different markets, making PPE, or any number of other things. So I think it's just been really interesting. So many manufacturers are embracing new digital technology to communicate with their employees and to talk to customers, both new and old. And I think that's going to serve us so well in the future. Listen, social media, digital marketing, innovations on video and content creation, those things are going to be with us in 2021 and for the decades to come. And I think the time for manufacturers to take advantage of it this year and to look at new and exciting ways, I think is going to serve us well in the future. And I'm so excited to be playing a part in that. We've had some big wins. Colin Cooper being the state's chief manufacturing officer, the only one of its kind in the entire country, could not have come at a better time. We had somebody who was steeped in manufacturing, who understood how manufacturers think and feel, the challenges, the successes, the excitement, to be inside of government advocating for us at every step of the way. And I think there's no question that that's really helped us. Kelly Valerie is another person who's been in manufacturing, now working for Workforce in the state of Connecticut to help address that challenge, which despite a reprieve, right, because we're not having the same demands we had before 2020, is still a big challenge. The silver tsunami, or whatever we want to call it, with people retiring, that's still going to happen. And I think all of us know that 59% or so of the workforce is over 40 years old. So we need to be building that talent pipeline. Happy that the podcast has been able to play a small part in engaging the community to help them see that manufacturing really is lean, green, and clean. Something that people can be excited about of all ages, of any ages, to really get involved, whether it's aerospace, medical devices, automotive, any of the other things we're doing. There's so much excitement in manufacturing. The embracing of robotics and Industry 4.0, talking to CCAT and Constep, looking at that technology and embracing it. Obviously a passion of mine because I love technology, but something that's made Connecticut the envy of the manufacturing world for so long. We were leading the way in precision manufacturing at the turn of the last century, and now we're in a position to lead the way in the next revolution as we embrace Industry 4.0 and Industry 5.0. We've talked to Stanley and seen what they're doing with the manufacturing and so much more, and small businesses who are embracing robotics, and talking to companies in Connecticut who are moving those robotics forward. And I think that's so exciting because that's really the path for the future and something that we can all get around and embrace, and something I think the podcast's been able to help on. We've provided that platform for people to learn and grow. And it's been so exciting to be a part of it myself, to be able to learn and grow along with everybody else. Look, there's no doubt 2020's had a number of challenges. Many of the people we know have gotten sick. Most of them have gotten better, which is super great. Our businesses have had challenges, but they found their way back. Certainly aerospace, a big part of Connecticut, isn't quite back where it needs to be, but we're on the path. And it's so exciting to know we have a vaccine, so we see the light at the end of the tunnel there. In the meantime, investment in our sea building and our shipbuilding is going super well. Our medical devices are strong. Other industries in Connecticut are still doing super well and being creative and innovative. It's just a really exciting time, I think, to be a part of Connecticut manufacturing. And I'm really happy to have been able to play a part in it and to have you guys along for the ride in the audience. Hopefully you guys are engaging with this and feeling good about it. Please comment. I want this to be a conversation. And hopefully this episode will be a pathway to make this a little bit more personal and engage on a one-to-one basis. We put clips on social media. Please comment. Tell us what you think. What more can we do to share the stories that are out there for Connecticut manufacturing? Because as an industry, we need to pull together. As I've said often and think about all the time, Glastonbury doesn't compete with North Haven. New Haven isn't competing with Stamford. Stamford isn't competing with Hartford. West Hartford isn't competing with Danbury. The state of Connecticut as a team and as a community is really competing for our place in the world. And we've had such a tremendous place. And 2020, I think, was a year to show that Yankee ingenuity and resilience is alive and well as we turn to 2021 to think about what we're going to do in this next year to write the exciting new chapter for Connecticut manufacturing. All right, so going into 2021, what are we thinking? Where are we starting? What are we going to do? And I think something we should probably start off with is talking about all the great organizations that exist here in Connecticut. I'm a huge believer in this teamwork approach, right? That together we need to be, I should say we need to work together to get where we want to go. And how are we going to work together? What's the best way to get together? It's through these affinity organizations, through these peer groups where we spend time learning about each other. I think about my own personal journey and the peer groups that I've been in, both IT focused peer groups, as well as just business focused peer groups, like Entrepreneurs Organization, for example. And Connecticut's filled with rich manufacturing organizations that we've talked about so many times on the podcast, because so many people and leaders in manufacturing participate, in these groups. And I've been really blessed to be able to participate myself. And I think it's important that we get involved, whether it's EMA, whether it's ACM, whether it's manufacturer CT, SMA, CTMA, whatever it is. I think we've got to focus on finding the time and making the time to be part of these groups now more than ever. It's so funny, right? When we're really busy doing stuff because the business is busy and we don't have challenging times, we say we're too busy to get part of these groups. And then when we're in challenging times, we say we can't make the time because we have to focus on finding a way to get busier, right? Sort of that chicken and egg. It's never the right time. And I think I would challenge that and say it's always the right time. It's always time to find the time to get to know other people in the industry, because it's just so important. There's so many things I think that we're having challenges that other people are going through. And when you're leading an organization, whether you're leading a part of an organization or the entire organization, there can be sometimes some loneliness of feeling of I don't know which way to go. Am I the only one facing this challenge? I'm not really sure where to get the answers. And that's what's so great about peer groups. They can really help find those answers. And so I think we should take that time to go and meet other folks and see what they're going through. Number one, to help, because we can share our lessons learned. And number two, so we can learn some from ourselves. Not only that, they're fun. We've got some great events. Obviously, this year, the year of the COVID, wasn't the best year for happy hours and stuff like that. But there have been some really actually exciting virtual happy hours and online events where speakers have been brought in, where I've been really happy to be participating in them because I've learned so much. And I think you guys could learn so much too. So I really encourage you to kind of sit down and think about what organization or maybe organizations you could learn from. Make a list, take some time, and start with one. And just make the commitment to get started. Go to a few meetings, meet some folks, participate, and get past that initial early stage. For me, every time I get started with a new organization, that first meeting is always the most awkward one, right? I walk in, everybody knows each other. They're all talking, chatting on the Zoom, whatever it is. And I'm the only one that's like, God, I don't know anybody. That awkward, initial first step is the hardest step. But then you get through, you go to the second meeting, the third meeting, volunteer for a committee, meet some folks, and all of a sudden you're part of the in crowd and find out what's so great about it. So we talk about in manufacturing all the time, continuous improvement. We talk about lean or Kaizen and always continuously improving. And that just doesn't apply to business processes. It applies to ourselves, to us as leaders, constantly improving ourselves and how we lead and what we view as our role in leadership. And I think these partnership, these trade groups, whatever we want to call them, are part of that continuous improvement. So let's kind of take 2021, I think, kind of put our time money, if you will, where our mouth is. So let's make that a goal for each other to try and get involved with a group and see what we can learn from it. And I think that kind of ties into the next thing I wanted to talk about, thinking about 2021, which was continuous improvement, which was Kaizen, which is lean. It's so critical to embrace that elimination of waste. And we've had so many great guests on this year. And I've been so privileged to go and get tours of so many facilities who are really embracing that philosophy. And most manufacturers in Connecticut have embraced it because we've had to. And I think in 2021 and in the years beyond, we need to double down, triple down, quadruple down on what we can do to embrace more efficiencies, more waste management, more lean, more Kaizen in our manufacturing shops. We need to get our people trained up. We need to invest in consultants and bringing them in, whether that's local consultants like Constep or it's bringing in a sensei from Japan. I think we have to find new and creative ways to get that waste reduction, find more and more efficiencies. As the economy roars back and we get that back to the thrive or get into the thrive position, you remember we were talking about when COVID first started, right? Sort of getting into that fourth stage of thrive after we get to recovery. And that stage is starting. We see it coming in the future. So we need to be thinking about how can we be in the best position to take advantage of it. And I think the more we invest in our time now to be efficient and find better ways to do it, we're going to be able to take advantage when the orders start coming back stronger and stronger. And so it's really been an exciting part for me to learn about over this last 2020 year. And hopefully that's going to be a great time for you guys to look at and kind of lean into lean, as it were, for 2021. And when we think about more efficiencies and waste elimination, it starts to tie into, in so many ways, one of my great passions, which is technology. Technology on the manufacturing floor, but technology not just in CNC or 5-axis or 8-axis machines or whatever, but also in information technology. In my end of the spectrum, if you will, thinking about like Industry 4.0, connected machines, data analytics, so much can be done there. And I think right now is a great opportunity to kind of spread our wings, right? And all these things tie in together. When we go to these trade associations where we're in these peer groups, ask other people what they're doing. I've seen companies, small and large, embracing all different kinds of automation, robotics, analytics. There's so much out there. And the most important thing, right, is we just need to get started. And so how do we do that? We can use those trade groups to kind of talk to folks and get into it, to understand what all this technology is about. What kind of machines can we get to get our machines connected so we can track throughput? So we can talk about maintenance schedules, so we can see utilization and really identify areas of opportunity. What are some new and creative ways we could look at prototyping? Have we thought about ways to look at 3D printing? What's out there in 3D printing? Should we be looking at polymer printing, metal printing? How can we invest some of our time and energy in some new technology? What about our ERP system? So many people feel like their ERP systems never live up to the promises that were made when they first got into it. Or maybe we're thinking it's time to look at a different ERP system. Now's a great time to start taking a look at how to get more out of what we have on the technology side. Sit down and think about what are the modules, what are the parts of our ERP that we're just not getting everything we could out of, and how could we take that next step? How could we get more stuff integrated that isn't currently integrated? What are we doing in an Excel spreadsheet that maybe we could be doing in our ERP system where we'd be able to see it in the context of the entire organization? I think that could be a really great project for 2021. We have to always prioritize. There's no question about it. And so I think as we start 2021 and we're ending 2020, let's sit down and think about where could we make technology work better for our business? What's a technology initiative we could sink our teeth into this year that we're going to come out of 2021 materially better or different than we went in? And I just believe technology is so important in making that happen. And we got to put information technology as a key pillar in what's going on. And listen, I'll take it one step further. Technology isn't just about manufacturing process, sales process. What are we doing for technology in our sales, marketing, and communication? How are we leveraging technology to get our message out into the world? And I think that message is internal and external. We've seen a lot of success with people using private YouTube channels or Microsoft Stream channels to kind of record meetings, create trainings, create that sense of community, that sense of shared information in a new and different way. And I think technology needs to be thought of in that context too. The buyers and the people on the outside, our customers, are using technology differently. The people that are transitioning in are using technology differently. Are we thinking about that? So many of us in the manufacturing world, right, have relied on brochures and paper delivery and showing samples. What are some ways that we could use digital technology to make a time-lapse video that shows what we do in action? How could we make a video that helps a prospective customer or maybe an existing customer see what we're doing in our plant, see how we're investing more, how we're making things better, and bringing that information to them? Because maybe they're not doing as many tours as they did before. Maybe they don't want to travel like they did before. We can bring the factory to them. We did that at IT Direct. We created a video that was sort of a tour of the office, that we introduced how we do things here. We had people talking, showed people in a video what it's like to work here and what it's like to be serviced by us. And it's such an effective way to make people feel like part of the team. Maybe we could do that in manufacturing too. What about representing our culture so that we can recruit better? What about making a video that we have people who work for us of all ages and backgrounds talking about the great things that are happening in manufacturing, about the careers that people are developing, showing a stage where we've got an entry level, a mid-level, a higher mid-level, and maybe someone who's really experienced and on the back end of their career, and create a long video with them talking. Just being natural, talking about what their experience has been, what they love about working at your factory, what it's meant to them and their family to have this career, how they felt like they've contributed not just to themselves, but to something larger than themselves. And Connecticut's so great to do that because so many of the things we make are so big and special. And think about making that video, and then where are we going to post it? Social media, man, let's do it. We want to attract the next generation. Let's go find them where they are. When's the last time we did a TikTok recruiting video? What are we doing to get people in the Instagram generation? How are we going to get them to be excited about what we're doing in manufacturing? Technology, IT is such a part of that. And it's so accessible. So many companies are taking advantage of it. Let's make 2020 the year where we use IT in areas we didn't use IT before. It isn't just for finance. It isn't just for spreadsheets and reporting. It's for recruiting. It's for sales. It's for marketing. It's for internal communication, employee onboarding. IT permeates everything that we're doing. And we just need to find a way to embrace that technology to make ourselves unique and better. Just that next Yankee ingenuity, that next innovation. I think IT is such a really big part of that. And so what are we doing in technology to kind of make that happen? As we do embrace IT, it's so funny. I think about this year, we launched the CMMC, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model, which sort of the implementation of which all got delayed. And for those that maybe aren't in the know, that aren't in the know about the new, that the CMMC is really a new cybersecurity framework that the DoD has kind of put out for everyone in the defense supply chain, right? And I think what's exciting about the CMMC, the framework, is that we see it kind of in the IT space being embraced as a good kind of framework to work, whether or not you need the full levels of it, the 5 levels that are in there. Maybe businesses that aren't in the supply chain only need level 1 or 2 or whatever it is. So it's giving a framework that people can work around. And so in manufacturing, a lot of us are familiar with kind of ISO, where they come in and do an audit. So we have a standard framework that we can work against. And the CMMC is looking to be that framework that I think is going to be embraced across industry. So in any event, that's kind of came out the beginning of the year. And sort of the rollout of it got a little bit delayed and knocked around because of all the stuff that happened with COVID and other things taking priority. But what COVID has showed us and what 2020 has showed us that we need to think about in 2021 is the importance of cybersecurity. I mean, as we embrace technology, and we've done that with remote work. We talked about ways, I think, just now, but how we need to do it going forward. And it's important, right? I mean, clearly, if we take a big step back at the big picture, if any of us were still relying on typewriters and Xerox and fax machines, we would not be in business, right? We just wouldn't survive. So we need to make sure we're embracing that technology, but doing it in a way that's safe. And time again, when I talk to manufacturing and really business leaders in general, their number one concern is cybersecurity. How do we make sure that our businesses are safe, our networks are safe, our people's data is safe? How do we make sure that we're doing that? And it's a valid concern. It's something we need to be thinking about. And going into 2021, I think we got to educate ourselves on where we stand and how do we make sure that we are taking that protection seriously, because it could be a really derailing event. And so, when we're going into 2021 and we're embracing the things we talked about, getting out there, engaging with the manufacturing community, finding our peers so we can learn and grow together. When we're thinking about continuous improvement and lean and Kaizen, how can we do the things that we're doing more efficiently so that when we have opportunities, we can embrace them and do them better? We can earn more business because we're delivering more on time, better quality. Our people are having more fun. We're doing everything more efficiently. Talk about embracing technology, whether that's our ERP or in our communication, with our teams and all that. We need to think about this cybersecurity. It's that 2021 and the years beyond, it's just going to be an important thing. And so I think leaning into that, CMMC engagement and looking at that as a framework to understand where we are so we know what gaps we have to close. And I think as business leaders, that's the imperative, right? The imperative is let's get out there and get an assessment of where we are on a cybersecurity footing, because knowing is half the battle, right? Going back to our G.I. Joe days as a kid, knowing is half the battle. And we really don't know what we need to do if we don't know where we stand. So I think that should be a priority, is kind of understanding where we are from a cybersecurity standpoint. And, then I think about what else could be out there? What else could we do in 2021? And I think, this podcast has been a lot about sharing positivity. Connecticut has for so long, we talk about ourselves as the land of steady habits, the place where people think of the glass as half empty instead of being half full. Let's try and make 2021 the year of change, the year of where we look at what we have and are really happy about it. Let's talk about all of the advances of technology, all the great stuff and opportunities we have in front of us, and focus on all those positive things, because there are so many things to be happy about. There are so many things to be positive about that we've been able to achieve, not just through the year of COVID. And of course, there are tons there, right? And I talked about them earlier in this episode. But I think there's so many things we have in front of us that are so exciting. Connecticut is so well positioned for the next generation of manufacturing. When we think about the conversion of manufacturing from brawn to brain, from the thinking, from the design, from innovation, from technology, instead of just doing of things, aren't we in such a great position to do that? Isn't our tremendous workforce in all these colleges, the great innovations we've done in community colleges, in trade schools, this decades and decades, generations of history where we've been in manufacturing and innovating in manufacturing, really sets us up for this great future? The reshoring, the view of understanding that manufacturing can come back to the U.S. and seeing it happen, Connecticut's so well positioned for that. Let's focus on all these great opportunities to use the things that I talked about, to lever up, to get together and work together, to share the concepts and the successes that we're all having through the podcast, through our conversations with each other, through the trade groups, through our own individual posts on social media, through private emails, wherever we can, CBIA, whatever groups we're in. Let's get out there and talk about all the successes we're having, because there are so many. I go around and I see all of them, and I'm happy to be a part of sharing them, but I'd love to have you on the team too. Together, we really can achieve more. Together, we can make 2021 the best year in Connecticut manufacturing ever and set us up for an even better year in 2022, 2023, and the years beyond. It's really been my privilege to be able to do this podcast and help get the word out there about something that's just so exciting. It's not just exciting for me because I see it, but it's exciting because in reality, we're doing amazing things. We're doing things here in Connecticut that no one else can do. And we're doing them in a way no one else can do them. It's exciting to be a part of it. Thank you so much for coming on this journey, being part of the audience. Let's make 2021 a terrific, terrific year.
Made in America with Ari Santiago is brought to you by IT Direct.
As always, thank you so much for tuning in and spending some time with me today. You know, my goal is to help build a community where we can learn and grow together. Your input, feedback, and engagement is critical to making that happen. Please do comment, like, and subscribe so more and more people can hear what we're doing and join our community of growth and success. Thanks so much for tuning in. Talk to you again soon.